thought they had banished us forever. But now... finally... we have returned.
Welcome back to our Harry Potter reviews, everybody. I'm very pleased to be back with a group of my favorite guests. Let's start off with Her Royal Majesty, Queen of... shall I do something bad, or shall I just keep... well, let's just do Queen of Honey Bears. Let's just do that one.
Yep, that's me.
Look, that was very shit delivery.
But
I was hopeful for a brief moment, but there we are. I should never get my hopes up on this stream. Never, ever, ever, ever.
And let's bring in... speaking of honey bears, let's bring in hers.
Oh, no.
Here's to the bard and I'm calling me plum. Here's to the beast and the rest of you scum. The cage is locked in and the town is aflame. And it's ours for the taking, though you get the fame.
You can't deliver a fucking joke to save your life.
Look, that was particularly horrendous. Usually he gets through the intro thing without, you know, deciding what the joke's gonna be. You know, that was bottom tier done.
Okay.
Alright, well at least he takes it.
Have you met me?
Not really.
No. Who are you?
The voice in your head.
Oh god, please no. I really hope not.
I have been every voice you have ever heard inside your head.
That was all fucking terrible.
I am fully aware.
You're doing the Sonic the Hedgehog thing. You can't hurt me if I'm in on the joke.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm just cringing so much.
That's the point.
Bring in the next sucker.
Yeah, fuck.
Pretty much, yes.
Ask and you shall receive, I guess. Because you brought in quite the sucker. Valerian.
Quite the asshole today.
No, never mind.
Valerian, I'm saying that because you're much older than the rest of us, so I'd assume you'd have more wisdom, yet you still keep coming here.
Yeah.
Dear oh dear. We're all here. We're all idiots.
Yeah.
Why are we all here?
Yeah, so yeah, bring on the next victim.
Alrighty, and let's bring on the resident Warhammer 40k fanboy. Welcome, Codex.
I am the scales of justice, conductor of the choir of death. Sing,
Greetings all.
Welcome.
You really are not on your game today, Dan, are you?
When's he ever?
He just can't decide what stupid shit to say today. He usually just says the stupid shit.
I've had a lot
He's
of
much more
stupid
thoughtful
crap.
about this. He's much more thoughtful. You see, give me more thought to this stupid stuff this time.
Yeah, you're right, Dan. You seem very unsure of yourself. Do you need to talk about it?
This is an intervention. This wasn't a stream at all.
I think I'm okay. I think I'm very much okay. Hey, I don't need you guys to play therapist for me.
Oh, that's good, because I would be a very shit therapist.
All right. Well, the room fucking died. I guess we should start.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh
Let's-
God, kill me.
Let's chat about Harry Potter. Potter 3 specifically.
Yeah. Best one.
The best
I don't
one.
know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know,
I'm
though.
trying, I'm trying to disprove that, but I'm now thinking about it, going, it is actually probably the best one.
You're right. Yeah.
In terms of the movies, at least, I think it's probably the best made movie. I think subjectively, I possibly enjoy Goblet of Fire a little bit more, but I don't
Was it
think
the dress?
What? Oh, the dress is very pretty, but I really enjoy Goblet of Fire, but I don't think it's quite as well put together as the third.
No,
movie.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Well, the book is a bit messy, so it's understandable how
Yeah.
a bit more difficult to adapt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
so
but they did a good job
Go
with
for
it, you know.
yeah, the book, The Prisoner of Azkaban, might be the most consistent book. Hard to say.
Especially because it kind of inhabits kind of an interesting in between part of the story. You know, it is the transition book. Well, one of the transition book before things get really serious in the fourth book. You know, the fourth book is when shit really gets real. But we're not quite getting really real, but we're more real than romping around the castle in the first two books. You know, as
Yeah.
much as the Chamber of Secrets was pretty damn, you know, drastic, it was contained to its own book, right?
But it
In
was
the
also,
same way.
it also has
same
like
way-
this fairy tale quality, though. Like with the
Yeah.
basilisk
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah,
It's very
I mean,
much the dragon that needs to be slain in order to rescue the princess.
Quite
I
literally,
guess.
yeah.
yeah, the first two are very, very formulaic in that they, not in a bad way, just in the sense of like, you know, in the kind of child mind that they're in, you know, like bad guy comes along, they defeat bad guy, everyone's happy at the end, you know. And it happens again in the second one. You're like, okay, this is the setup for the series, and then the third one comes and it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd argue it's very much more complicated, because now you're dealing with like a murder plot or a Judas plot.
Oh,
that
totally.
has like several layers.
You are,
It's-
but it still ends with everyone happy and going home for the summer. You know, it still ends in the same place that the other two did. Whereas when you get to Goblet of Fire, it does not. When
Yeah,
you get
there's
to
a body.
Yeah, then a Goblet of Fire, everyone is fucking depressed. It is horrendous.
Yeah.
You know,
Also traumatized.
it's a completely different tone shift of an ending compared to the first three. But yes, which is why, you know, Azkaban has like this nice little in between feel to it.
Well, it's interesting that Azkaban is the only one without Voldemort in it.
I
Yeah.
noticed that too, actually. Yeah.
That's true.
It's a good way
Yeah.
of keeping the I think that's a really good way of keeping the stakes from getting too serious as well, because although the first two did have him, they had him in a kind of way that where he gets substantially defeated, and given that the stakes are a lot more morally grey in this one, having Voldemort in the mix would probably make it feel a little bit too serious and a little bit too real. You know what I mean? It would be a little bit too much for this book that comes in Goblet of Fire. You know, that's when things are supposed to really hit you, and we're still building up to that in Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah, because we have to have the whole issue with Sirius, is he a mass murderer and all that stuff. They kind of distract from that to have like the big bad in it as well.
Yeah, it's about backstory. It is a setup movie in a lot of ways, because it's giving you these characters, it's giving you a lot of context, it's blurring the lines about what
Who can be
what
trusted, who can't.
yeah, and like you know, you start to get the beginnings of the backstory of Harry's dad, well, more so anyway, and you know, the Marauders and stuff. You know, you start to build up the pieces of the puzzle that start to get expanded upon later on, and it's quite a gentle movie in a lot of ways, because it's a lot of like, you know, exploration of ideas, and you know, it's a real, like, it's really playing into the coming of age thing because it's Harry realizing things are more complicated for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don, you have any thoughts?
Dan doesn't have any thoughts.
Yeah.
This is when you say something
Didn't-
sarcastic about.
Don't you remember the beginning of the stream where he can't decide on anything?
I'm just letting my lovely guests who are often smarter than me talk.
Ow.
Well, you
Ow.
At least he's
really are,
honest.
you really are depressed today, Jesus.
It's not
Christ.
It's a rare
Smug
mood
self
for
today.
me.
What happened to him?
Oh God, maybe we need to start being nice to him. Jesus.
Would you like some chocolate?
That's a good joke.
Good
I actually
refer-
like
okay,
that
I don't-
reference.
Yeah, I was about to say, got to applaud the reference, Valerian. Well played.
Yeah.
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 I
That
do.
was good.
I do like the fact that now that I look at this more, there's less about Voldemort. I think, yeah, you are right. He does show up in only flashback form.
Wasn't there a flashback in the movie?
I don't know whether
in,
it's specifically the flashback.
No,
In,
no, what? No, I think it's the
I didn't
flashback
get
with
the chance to
Wormtail. That's
finish. I mean in
Sorry.
Half-Blood Prince.
Oh.
Insofar as the story is about a guy who was imprisoned, falsely accused of being a spy for Voldemort, who killed his best friend, when in fact it was their other friend. Like, so it's all about something that Voldemort did. Obviously, it's all about like what happened to Harry's parents, but which is obviously related to him. But he's a factor in the story, but he's like not the focus at all.
He's the
So, yeah.
cause. He's the reason, not the effect of it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so he's more of a Spectre in this, ironically, because he was literally a Spectre in the first two movies. But
I'm trying to. I do have a question though. So, okay, Lupin throughout that movie is giving Harry chocolate after Dementor attacks.
Mhm.
What happens if the kid's allergic to chocolate? What do you do then? Do you just
Give them-
you just say
it's
sucks to
jelly?
be you?
I guess
I-
it's
I-
what is it? What's the phrase? Hyperallergenic magic chocolate?
I mean,
Can you give him-
it depends on what the allergy is, because I know that if you have a cocoa allergy, usually it's to the stuff that you make dark and milk chocolate with, but you can still eat white chocolate. So just give them white chocolate.
Maybe, yeah.
Well,
That's true.
would carob work?
Huh?
Would carob work?
I don't.
You know that
I
there's,
just like to imagine Lupin's trying to make this young boy feel better and then incidentally kills him.
It's kind of amusing.
uh,
It's a good job
Aw.
Harry's not like, ah,
Oh,
very cute.
yeah, it is interesting. Isn't there like a study or something that chocolate actually helps improve your mood or something along those lines, or makes you feel better?
I've heard. Sorry, go.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, it's got low levels of caffeine and like sugar in it, so I imagine so.
Mhm.
Like that probably works in the same way that when you have a cold and you have like a medicine that's got like paracetamol and caffeine in it, that gives you a good kick, right? Like same kind of thing. You get caffeine and sugar at the same time, you do okay.
Mm.
I trying to remember what else happens in the movie though. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Well, the Dementors are fucking creepy.
Yeah,
They
do
are.
the
It's the intro
ring
then,
race
yeah.
ripoffs.
Yeah.
I actually like it though. Like Rowling said something about Azkaban that I always found kind of interesting. They said it was owned by some dark wizard or something that built this fucking monolith, and the Dementors were the more agreeable things they found in there. Were the least
Oh.
horrific thing.
Mm.
Oh, lovely.
Obviously, it's the Lovecraftian thing where like the unknown is the scarier. But I really want to know what else they found in there.
Well, it's a bit like the whole I mean, I guess you get to that later on in these future stream, but the whole thing about like how J.K. Rowling wrote down how it was exactly that you make a Horcrux, and she gave it to her publisher, and they were horrified and were nearly sick, which is why it's not actually in the books. Yeah, it's
Oh.
and I like knowing that rather than knowing exactly what it is that you have to do, because that makes it all the more freaky. But I related to that, I like how Rowling does horror elements because she knows to just
Say
essentially
enough.
she
Yeah.
says very little and describes just enough, and then just goes, yeah, just almost in her own little whimsical way, kind of just as a side note notes that that worse shit than that I just showed that I just told you about, and then carries on with all the the hinky punks and all that chat.
Goes on with the whimsical shit,
Yeah.
while meanwhile across the fucking ocean there's this prison that holds something far more dangerous than
Yes,
has
the
ever
first
been seen on
child.
Earth.
Hey,
Oh.
this is the oh dear.
Sorry about that. There's also perhaps the fact that she's better at writing whimsy, so she plays to her strengths and uses the fact that she is not as good at horror to
Maybe
make the horror more horrible by not talking about it. Is that
somewhat. I don't know that I've never really seen her write proper horror, but one of the wonderful things about Harry Potter is the tone is this interesting middle ground between whimsy and it's just got an edge of horrorness. You know what I mean? It's got this nice dark edge to it that gives the whimsy a bit of flavor. It's, I guess it has to be. It's about witches and wizards.
I'm just wondering though, like if she were to release that information now, how desensitized have we become? Would it really be that bad, or would we say, "Oh, I've seen worse on fucking live leak"?
I think that my thought is that we're extreme. I think that Game of Thrones has very much desensitized pretty much everybody on the planet.
Well, you haven't been hanging out on 4chan since 2011.
Oh Jesus!
That is
Well,
true.
Christ.
I have never been on 4chan.
Oh my God.
I barely even know what 4chan is.
It's
Does it
fun
even
for the
exist
best.
anymore?
Say what?
Does that exist anymore?
Yes.
Oh God, help us!
I mean, my argument would be, regardless of how severe whatever it is that you do to create a Horcrux is, like, I feel like it's probably horrific, more so, like horrific in its own right, but horrific in the context of it being, it being in this universe, it being something that Voldemort did multiple times, it being so related to the characters, if that makes sense, that would be the horrific part of it, that it's like in the same world as this whimsy, as these heartwarming lovely story, you know what I mean, like it's the contrast that would make it horrific, not necessarily the thing itself.
See, I think the horror actually comes from when you put yourself in that situation. You have all the guys, the people who will go like, "Oh, I could totally kill a person," but then you put that knife or that gun in their hand and you start yelling at them to pull the trigger. They're going to be fucking traumatized.
Well, I do love that. I love the. I mean, we're going way ahead in the story, but I love the phrase that killing whips the soul apart, that whole concept that she plays on. I like that she actually puts weight on the killing of another person, that it's like something that destroys you, like because she creates a horror at something that in many franchises is not treated as much of a horror as it actually is, if you think about it, like, because if you killed a person, it would be horrifying to you, so I like that she, by putting emphasis on something and highlighting the horror of it, you can make it more horrifying, even if people are desensitized.
Well, that's kind of why I like the scene with Cedric in the fourth one. Like at the end, Voldemort just fucking offs him like he's swatting a fly.
That genuinely traumatized me when I first watched it. I was like maybe 11 or something. Oh god,
That curse though was far worse than I think Robert Pattinson could have ever imagined.
Oh,
Yes, it was into
oh,
Twilight.
no.
Yeah, it launched him right there into Twilight. Yeah.
Yes.
And-
Oh.
Yeah.
I nearly crawled out of Twilight by being in the lighthouse, which I'm sure was a really like he's
Well, no, he's
amazing
the-
at it. But
But then he was the Batman. Then he became the.
was it that way round?
No,
Or-
it was
I don't know.
Lighthouse then Batman.
That's
I was
right.
gonna
Yeah.
say,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, I do think that one thing about the Horcrux, one person theorized that you kill a person, then you have to cast Avada Kedavra on yourself to blast the piece of your soul out of yourself.
That sounds wrong because I feel like that would just kill you.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
the whole point.
Sounds
It doesn't really.
counterintuitive.
I mean, you could write that in a horrific way, but it feels the
Passe.
context. The context is whatever it was that she told her publisher made her publisher want to vomit. You know,
Well,
like
that could just be British sensibility.
no,
Maybe-
no, I don't think so, sweetie.
Yeah.
You're not
I
the
don't-
hold on. You people
It's
aren't the
probably-
French.
What
You're
she
not
said.
Yeah, I guess maybe it
monsters.
was more bloody than that. And probably
I
involved
ju- I-
some kind of ritual sacrifice.
I just think that casting a spell upon yourself that kills you in order to rip apart your soul isn't graphic in this you know, in the most
In the grand
literal
scheme of
sense the
things.
word. You know, it's
Yeah.
not the most graphic thing. That would make you go, ooh, that's a bit, especially if you described it in the right way. But she's describing the process. She's not written a evocative scene, so I feel like it's got to be something a bit more gross than that. You know.
You kill them and then you do stuff with the remains, I guess.
You know what? There's a big part of me really doesn't want to know. I just find it fascinating that.
Yes, I don't think we need the details either.
It's point for the best.
Probably.
We say as we continue to
so-
discuss it.
That's true. Yeah.
So well, now that we've exhausted the idea, well, Horcruxes even before it's come up. So
So,
So the
Yeah.
the third film or the third book, either one, both.
it just sounded like Dunn was going somewhere, and then he stopped.
Well, Gary Oldman was pretty good in this.
Well,
Oh, Gar-
White Lord?
Gary Oldman
Uh,
is fucking awesome. That is true.
Indeed.
he is a great casting for Sirius Black.
It's funny because I had never seen him in anything before this, so I just see Gary Oldman as Sirius Black. He just kind of is him.
Yep.
Like
I
I
agree.
The only thing it's not that I don't like, but I miss specifically in the fourth movie is that in the third movie he has such a manic energy to him. Like he was a man who spent an extended stay in prison, but then in the fourth movie it's like his sanity is, he's returned to sanity, even though in the book they specifically say he was never crazy.
well, actually, I will say. To
Yeah.
be fair, he's actually not really in the fourth movie apart from that one fireplace scene. He
That's
is
true.
mainly in the fifth movie. And what would have made it a little bit better as a transition between those two movies is if we had a bit more serious involvement in the story in the fourth movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't get the moment where Dumbledore forces Snape and Sirius to shake hands.
You also don't get the scene where he shows up in the hospital wing and the nurse flips the fuck out because a known murderer is in the school. Remember,
Yeah.
they locked that shit down last book.
I know.
Yeah, it's true.
I think we missed out on something there, especially because you could have had because I love Sirius in the fifth movie. He's very mellow and wonderful, as the way he plays him is wonderful. but I think we needed that midpoint between the two.
Here's my question. How many nights do you think he woke up after escaping Azkaban? Like after he got out of the Hogwarts area? How many nights do you think he woke up screaming his fucking head off?
Oh,
Countless.
quite a few. And
Probably.
there were probably several nights where, since in Azkaban, well, he describes in Azkaban that the Dementors feed off guilt, and he really couldn't. Since he knew he wasn't guilty, there wasn't really much for them to feed off of. And since he was a dog, he
Yeah.
Either
they didn't really do anything to him.
Either way, though, you're still in a prison. Though I don't care if it's a mortal prison or a wizard prison. That changes a man.
Well, that too, but
remember
also
that.
to be fair, the way that the Dementor thing works specifically is that the reason he didn't go mad is because not everything was taken away from him, right?
Right.
The ones, it's like he got all of his happiness sucked out of him, but like the fact that he wasn't guilty was wasn't sucked away from him because it wasn't a happy thought to him, you know. So it's like he still had a lot of, that would send you some. He wasn't insane, but that would like take away a lot from you, and you would have to do a lot of recovering.
And he's like kind of there all by himself with a bunch of actual criminals and these beings,
including his cousin who he hates.
Oh, that's got to be such a
Yeah.
pain in the ass. I
Imagine-
never even thought about that.
Imagine
Well, also-
Bellatrix.
Actually, yeah.
Not
Imagine
only-
Bellatrix having a riot, going up to Sirius and like taunting him and stuff.
Because she
Yeah, that's
would
what I was
know.
gonna say. Like, I was also gonna say, like, he's in there with a ton of Death Eaters that all know that he actually isn't the guilty one. They all know that he's Order of the Phoenix through and through. Like, and
They know
Go
he's
on.
their enemy essentially.
And they are probably mocking him and messing with
Oh,
his
yeah.
head.
And Bellatrix would have a riot doing that.
I seem to recall that after the series ended, they said that Azkaban was shut down. Anyone else recall that?
Is that in the seventh book?
I could have sworn
It's extra material that J.K. Rowling made up because she can't really leave behind her universe.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it makes sense, but at the same time, that feels like that's a big problem too. If you leave that place just like unpopulated, because the whole idea was that they populated it to keep the Dementors at bay.
well, the thing
Yeah.
about the Dementors is that they went over to Voldemort, and so they just decided to stop using them as guards straight up. But then it comes to the problem of like what else is in there. But then I guess if nobody goes there, you don't have people coming in and out, so that might be safer to just keep the shit in the hole,
Maybe.
That does bring up a question though. Are Dementors sentient?
I actually, you know what? The one
That's
thing
an
that I have a
interesting
qualm within this series is the fact that I actually think it would have been more effective if the Dementors remained neutral. That maybe Voldemort kind of like harnessed them, but they can't have they can't choose sides. They're just like specters of existence, right?
Right. I get what you're saying.
I don't really like that they pick a side because it feels a little bit too human, and it humanizes them, makes them less scary.
Yeah, are they basically a kind of animal?
I think that they are animals because they don't really start going to Voldemort until he takes over the Ministry, which has control over the Dementors.
Yeah, what was I going to say about making things up? Because she also apparently made up that thing about the deer choosing someone to be pure of heart to be a minister. I'm like,
Oh, the magic baby deer! Yeah, the magic baby deer system of government.
God.
and it's like
That was
it says pretty explicitly in book 4 that they're talking about the popularity, about how what's his name? Crouch is going to be minister, but he lost popularity. So it
No.
suggests that
No.
No.
That's
The
a
magic
different
baby
thing.
deer is to choose the High King Wizard. That's what the magic baby deer is for.
Oh,
Yes.
not the minister. There
Not
is-
the
No,
minister.
no, minister.
It's King
Okay.
Wizard.
Okay,
King
I
Wizard
never heard
that
of King
rules
Wizard.
over King Wizard that rules over the entire world. As a side note, notice how adorable he is when he says "Magic Baby Deer." He's very cute. I had to watch the entirety of the said movie about the Magic Baby Deer. With every time Magic Baby Deer appeared, this one over here.
So
Magic
this-
baby deer.
He's just going on about the Magic Baby Deer because he thinks the Magic Baby Deer is so cute.
Well,
It is.
probably is
Oh,
cute.
come on. That thing is fucking adorable.
It is very cute,
Yeah.
but
Okay,
what's
here's the
cuter
thing.
is when you
cuter
say
than
it.
Bambi.
But the whole
It is.
the whole,
Sorry, go ahead.
And
the whole King Wizard thing is
doesn't the deer get killed in one of the twin deers
No,
get
that's
killed
the
and
deer's
zombified by...
the deer's brother.
so.
Okay.
So this King Wizard thing is absolutely not mentioned anywhere in the books at all.
Actually,
It
it
is.
is.
It is. He's just calling it King Wizard as an explanation. It's not called the King Wizard. It's the what is it? The Chief Mugwump.
Yeah, Chief Mugwump or something. Yeah, which is
was
never said in the movie.
Where is
It's-
that mentioned in the books?
So it's mentioned in the books. One of Dumbledore's titles is that he is Chief Mugwump. It is never established that means he is King of all wizards.
So
It's just
he's-
that is a title that he has, and you just assume it's like a ministerial title that he has, or an honors that he has gained from all of his services, or something. No, it means that he's the King Wizard of all of the world, selected by a magical baby deer. Like that is it's basically
So-
rewriting what that word means.
So
It's dumb.
It's
It's
totally
dumb, and let's
blind.
move on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
We gotta
pretty,
give him this, though.
it's pretty strongly implied in the books that Fudge outranks Dumbledore.
Yeah,
in terms of
it is.
political power.
It is a bit bizarre. Like, look, Fantastic Beasts is a good ride. It's
No, it's
Oh, it
not.
destroys the
All of
fuck.
the movies are bad. It's
No, the first one's fine. The
Well, yeah,
first
the
one's
Okay, the
fine,
fine.
first
but then
one
it
is fine, and then it
trailed
gets
off.
ruined by number 2, which is really awful.
Oh yeah, easily.
and the only thing I will say about them is that they're not maliciously bad, so I don't mind them. But they
No,
don't,
they're not malicious. They're just misguided.
they're
Yeah.
just they're
And
just silly. But
incompetent.
they're silly and incompetent, but I don't mind. It's whatever. But I can deal with, loving massive mistakes, It's fine. It's not malicious, it's okay. But no, to be fair, leaning back a little bit into J.K. Rowling creating lore, I will defend her somewhat, because a lot of it got taken out of context quite a while later, after it was like a thing that she created, because it was all part of like the whole Pottermore thing, when that was a thing. And a big part of that site was basically, you sign up and then you get like all of these little things to find on the site, where you discover all these little articles about this little thing, this little addition to the world building and stuff. It's basically, it was a nice little community of Potter fans that wanted extra world building. And as a world building nerd, I loved it. There was some bizarre shit that she did come up with, but I won't say that it's like a character flaw of hers that she can't put the
pen
story
down.
down. Yeah,
So-
like it was a nice little thing. It was a nice thing for the fans to be able to hang out in the world building. So
Yeah,
Hey.
Raptor in the top hat says that the words J.K. Rowling and world building should not be in the same sentence.
oh, shut up, Raptor! You're a piece of shit. She's great. Look,
Well, it's just
God,
not. It's
God
not a
bless
strong,
her. The woman tried. You know
It's-
what?
Yeah.
God bless her.
She
like,
did try. That's not a strong point. That's all.
Yeah.
it's more like she has a beautiful sense of whimsy and a wonderful sense of aesthetics, and in a lot of ways, in those senses, her world building is wonderful, because it's this beautiful fairy tale world of magical,
The world painting
awesomeness.
is the world paint. That's what I call a world painting. I think the world painting is excellent, not the world building, but the world painting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
totally
the
fair.
logistics are quite wonky. You can kind of forgive it in certain ways because of, like, you know how she has the kind of love of imperial measurements and, like, you know, this kind of quirky, everything's a bit wonky, it doesn't quite make sense, but somehow the structures still stay up kind of aesthetic. Therefore, when things don't quite add up, you go, well, it's quirky world that doesn't quite add up, you know? So I feel like aesthetically, the lack of logic makes sense. That sounds a bit wonky. It's because it is, but you know, you know.
The time
Um,
traveling gimmick, I will admit, is really dumb.
Yeah, it's
To be fair,
handled in a
could've been a
weird
lot
way, in a
worse.
weird, confusing way that just doesn't make any. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think she was wise to get rid of it when she did, but I like that it's actually like the self-fulfilling prophecy type of.
It's a closed loop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a close, which is very rarely done because it's very hard to make that into a story, and I do commend her for making a closed loop time travel story into an interesting story. So I don't
Until she
know.
bring it back.
I
and
think it's
cursed
okay.
child.
Oh, let's really not talk about that. For one, she didn't write that, but also, and that's not to defend her writing, because she also wrote the fucking Fantastic Beasts movies. But
Yeah, that's
she
true.
didn't write the Cursed Child, which is the worst one of the lot. So, hey.
Yeah, I based on the summary that I have heard of that particular book play, it's not a book, it's a play. It is really, really.
We should have. I saw when I was in London with Becca back in 2021. We saw that it was actually still a production on their version of Broadway. I don't know what that area is called.
It's called the West End.
Okay, on the West End. And it was in proud bold letters. I wish we stopped in and saw it. I kind of do.
To be fair, in its defense, the production side of it, the stage play part of it, that as far as I could tell, everyone who has seen it has said that it's absolutely beautiful. It's an awesome stage production that is very well put together, that looks like a Harry Potter production because they were very creative in how to bring that quirky, magical
To life.
Sweetie?
Hello.
Sweetheart?
Yep, I'm still here.
Fuck off. Anyways, though, I do wish we saw that production. But we didn't have the time.
Huh?
You've cut out completely for
Yeah,
a while.
Oh no! Oops. Well, yeah, I agree though. I wish we'd seen it. It would have been good.
Well, you know,
It would have okay. It would have been a good experience.
it would have been a fun evening.
It would have been
Oh,
a fun
yeah.
evening. We'd have had a lot to say. You know.
Probably would have just. I don't know. Probably would have called up Dunn that night and said, "Get your bitch ass up. We need to talk about something."
Oh my god. No, you would have still been awake. Remember, you know, he's like fucking 7 hours away from me.
No, I know. That's why I'm saying.
Exactly. We would have been like
Good
middle
point,
of the night.
actually.
But
Oh Lord.
anyway, we haven't talked much about the actual movies, have we?
No, we
Not
haven't. We
really.
should probably get on that.
Yeah.
I guess one cool thing about it, we talked a lot about Sirius Black. We haven't talked about the opening and the Trunchbull as Aunt Marge. Pretty much perfect.
Yes.
cast.
Oh!
Perfect casting.
Shit, yes.
Perfect casting.
Oh,
Who was the actress?
Miss
I can't remember her name. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
know that she plays the Trunchbull in Matilda.
God.
Oh, okay. That is perfect casting then. I haven't
Yes.
seen that movie in years, but I
Oh, I
remember the
love that movie.
performance.
I love Matilda.
I fucking hate that movie, but I do like Danny DeVito in it.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think I've ever seen Matilda actually.
Well, you got to sit down and watch it with Rachel. I think that's one of her favorite movies.
Oh, okay. That sounds cute. No, yeah, like that opening. I mean, I love how the early Harry Potter, like, you know, obviously they kind of cut off with the fourth movie because they jumped straight to the World Cup. But with the one, 2, and 3, when you open with the Dursleys and we're back in, you know, normal land for a bit, and Harry has to deal with the stupid craziness, and they don't have to change a thing from the book. They could just, you know, it's just word for word. It's just
Basically,
let's just roll from A, B, C, D, have everything happen exactly as she said, and it's just this wonderful, like, petty little small-minded people doing their thing, and it's just this wonderful, whimsical Roald Dahl-esque, you know, scene, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
Which
they're very faithful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're some of the most faithful adaptations I've ever seen, with only small cuts here and there. Though there are a few coming up in movie 6 that I'm a little bit sad.
There are cuts from movie 5, 6, and 7 that kind of basically just mean that you have like slightly broken plots, like subplots, which makes you it's kind of sad because it's partly because of like the timings of when the books were released and stuff like that, but it is a shame. But apart from those little things, like, they are wonderfully faithful adaptations. Like, I look back at them and go, wow, how bloody lucky were we? Like,
yeah, book 4 film 4 does cut out a lot of the house elf-y stuff, which I guess is, on the one hand, doesn't contribute to the plot. On the other hand, it's thematically kind of
well, that's why it kind of works in a book, but in a movie, that I think with film 4 they did very well to.
I don't even think it works thematically. I think it's just a tangent that doesn't affect anything.
I think it does kind of, because it is like about like what phase Hermione's in. I guess it's part of her character at the very least.
Well, it's also one of the themes is the relation between wizards and like half humans, subhumans, and things. And one of the things is that the Ministry are kind of down on half humans, and also Voldemort is down on half human. So there's that aspect of it. It sort of fits in also with the whole anti-Muggle-born thing going on. So there's a little bit of a theme there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's got its place, but if you're going to take a movie, a story that is a book, it can have like fast and slow moments, but when you turn that story into a movie, the pacing it has to have can't really have like slow moments where we start having a friggin', you know, activism subplot, you know, about house elves that doesn't work, you know.
It doesn't go anywhere.
That doesn't work, doesn't go anywhere, and the discovery is that the house elves want to remain enslaved. Look, you have to put a lot of freaking emphasis on that for it not to sound random and slightly insulting, right? You have
slightly.
It's really hard.
So it's kind of
it basically turns Hermione into one of those culturally insensitive activists who just wants to save the people, even though she doesn't understand that
they don't need her to
their lives.
Well, to be fair, she's a teenager too, so
I mean,
true,
which is the majority of dumb activists who have never grown up.
But it's like, and in that way, I love that it's explored in the books. It's quite interesting, but it needs space for that to be explained. Otherwise, it comes across as really fucking random. And
it's really hard to do.
Able to be interpreted in lots of ways. And the thing is about the fourth book that we are starting in a dark place and building somewhere even darker at a very fast pace. It's literally a film about, like, you know, a tournament, right? We need to keep going, you know, in order for that the theme of the movie to work, right? Which is, you know, like, so it's just like, I feel like if we're gonna cut some shit out, let's cut out the shit with Winky and the house elves, like, you know. Like, maybe we should just
yeah.
cut this shit.
That
Hmm.
was the fourth book. For some reason, I thought that was the fifth. But you're right.
Nope. Nope,
Nope.
definitely the fourth. Because it was all
It's-
related to Dobby, because Dobby is the freed elf that wears lots of clothes and wears loads and loads of hats, and then he helps Harry get the gillyweed.
Yeah, the fourth
Yeah.
book was kind of weird. Like it's almost like 2 books
It is a
Fucking
bizarre book.
mashed into
I-
one.
Yeah.
I kind of love it. I love the midpoint of the Harry Potter series, the 4th and the 5th book, are just really enjoyable. There's just so much going on. It's like, yeah, it's great.
I really
Have
like
you-
the 5th book, especially. Not so much
Yeah.
the 4th, but the 5th one I do like the
I
5th one.
I enjoy them both. The 5th one's probably my favorite of the two, though. Yes.
Now, here's a question: do you think this is the right idea? Do you think it was the right idea to change the change of tone between movie 4 to 3?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I say, 3 is a little bit of a transition movie. So it kind of leans into the tone that we're going into, but it's still maintaining the whimsy of the first two. And I think it's really quite. I think that it's the transition between movie 3 and 4 is more seamless than the one between 2 and 3. But
Yeah.
the one between 2 and 3 is good enough for like for you to get where we're going. That we're moving in a certain kind of direction.
I don't think you were going to get a better opportunity than book 3 or movie 3. I mean, it is the perfect jumping point.
Yeah,
It
that's
is
fair.
I would agree.
absolutely.
Yeah, I might agree with that. Yeah.
As a side note, movie 3 being the perfect movie, the fucking soundtrack. That is peak Harry Potter soundtrack, is that movie. Oh,
I still find it
it's
interesting
gorgeous.
that the movie was directed by the guy who directed Children of Men.
Wow. I've never seen that movie, to be fair, so
My best friend has seen it. He sings that movie's praises. He says it's easily one of the best sci-fi movies since like Blade Runner.
Well, I've seen a lot of I've seen every fucking behind the scenes of Harry Potter that's ever been fucking made. You know, I have a massive
Same.
Tarek's seen my massive box set of Harry Potter. It's
I
like a
have.
brick.
It's literally a box.
It's a great big brick box. You know, it's just like it's so heavy. And it's got like 30 CDs in DVDs in it of like, you know, different versions of the movies, like behind the scenes shit, you know, all sorts. And so believe me, I have seen a lot of behind the scenes stuff of Harry Potter. And I've been following it for a very long time. And some of the more interesting stuff is the stuff on the director of the third movie, because obviously it's a completely new director. We transitioned from the guy who directed Home Alone to this guy, right?
The Children of Men.
You know, which
That's a bit of a
considering
jump.
that the transition is very smooth, and the way that he talked about how he wanted to direct Harry Potter was very interesting. You know, he was really trying to be faithful, but really had a beautiful vision for the aesthetic that he wanted to create and the story he wanted to tell. And it's been a long time since I've watched it, but I just have a look at some of the behind the scenes for the third movie, and you'll appreciate the filmmaking of it even more, because it is a very beautifully made movie. The first two are very good at telling the story that they're telling, but they're very basically made. You know, they're not pieces of art necessarily. The production design maybe, but the actual like cinematography and stuff not so much. But like the movie 3 is when they really started like excelling
Figuring their
at the
shit
film-
out.
excelling at the filmmaking. You know, it was really like
Yep.
it's just a gorge. Every shot is a painting. You know.
I do also like that movie 3 is the first time that we get a good Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, because the other two have been really bad.
We never got to see what Quirrell did.
Quirrell
That's
was.
true.
Oh wait. Oh no, he was Defense Against. I was like, wait, was he? I was like, it's
Yeah,
so
it's-
not like the personality for it, like that I completely forgot that he was. we got to see him holding an iguana one time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was it
Why was he holding that iguana? What was the point?
I don't
It's just
know.
comfort animal.
What was the lesson plan?
How dragons work or something? I don't know.
It's his comfort animal. That's why he's got the lizard.
Well, I guess
It's
when you
like
gotta.
those service animals.
Well, yeah, Voldemort
Yeah,
animals,
service
probably.
animals.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
he's got a service iguana. That's why it helps him with his stutter.
It helps him not be scared of the vampires.
Oh god.
Oh dear. Anyway, yeah,
Yes,
nobody has.
Lupin.
I don't know. Who
Oh.
knows? Lupin is. Imagine if they got to have Lupin every year. Imagine how much.
Well,
Love
I mean, that would have been great until like a kid is fucking mauled one night.
Yeah, it'd probably be
Yeah,
Snape's
true.
fault. Snape would have been like, you know what would be really funny? Be if the guy.
No, just leave it there. You know what would be really funny?
Yeah, especially since
You know what would be really funny?
Snape.
it is kind of revealed just how much Snape really hates these guys, and they hate him. Well, Lupin doesn't hate him, but
It's just funny that he spends the entirety of this movie like kind of trying to sabotage Lupin in a way that may well get a student killed, you know, like, and it's just like, look, Snape, look, Lupin actually didn't hate you just because he was friends with the guy who bullied you. Maybe you need to get over it. Like, good God, you know, it just came across as very fucking petty. And as much as there's that great moment towards the end where he like stands in between Lupin as the werewolf and the kids,
Yeah.
you know, and you're like, okay, fair enough, he's protecting them. Fair dues, that is his instinct.
Right
Good on
after
him.
right after he's about to fucking throttle Harry.
That is true.
Well, that's
yeah.
fair enough. That's fair enough. But even so,
Harry,
it
you
does
piece of
reveal
shit.
something. It does reveal something. But even so, good God, Snape. Like
Snape-
that whole fucking lesson where he's like, hey, let's learn about werewolves. And it's just like, you're just such a dick. Like,
Yeah.
good God.
Be quiet.
He's very, very, very petty. Yes, I mean, these are things that happened like 20 years ago.
It's literally just like, oh yeah, his friend bullied me, so I'm gonna fucking, like, reveal him to the whole... It's like, come on.
And ruined his
Chill-
career.
Like,
and-
I know that's like an element that he's suspicious that maybe he's got something to do with Sirius Black. Possibly because he's paranoid that they were friends and Sirius Black used to bully. It's like, I get that everyone thinks he's a murderer, but I just feel like what a dick. Especially considering our later reveal in the series when we find out that Snape is loyal to Dumbledore right to the end. Well, he doesn't fucking trust him then, does he? Because Dumbledore picked Lupin.
So, I
Yeah.
imagine Snape was probably disappointed, may have actually been disappointed when he learned that Sirius was innocent.
Yeah, probably, because he's like,
Yeah,
oh no,
probably,
you mean
yeah.
the bully didn't turn into the mass murderer? Oh no, my worldview has been wrong this whole time.
Oh, but of
just
course
like-
he couldn't stick to that for very long though. He'd be like, somehow managed to justify his attitude anyway.
It's just a fucking 40-year-old man still thinking about how we got bullied at school, and it's just like,
Okay, hold on, real quick. That is an entire generation now.
I know, but like they're all
That is true.
pathetic.
That is true, actually.
They're all pathetic, and so is Snape. And now, I will say that entire generation that you just mentioned, they are also all the people that go on about how Snape's really the hero. So you do have a point, but even so,
Unlike
I-
them, though, at least he did something.
he did. And to be fair, I find him one of the most fascinating characters in the series. But he is a petty piece of shit.
Oh, very much so.
Ugh.
He's not a good person, even if he's on the good guy's side. He's basically a bad person.
He is a great character, you know, because ultimately he does the right thing. Ultimately, he was working towards, you know,
A noble
preserving
goal.
a noble goal, right? He just was petty about it along the way, right? So he's a great character. He pisses me the fuck off, but I also consider him to be one of the best characters in the series. But you know,
Yeah.
like,
Oh
he's just,
yes.
he
That
just
is
gets
good.
to the pettiest lows in this movie.
I'm
And
just glad he turned out to be a good guy though, because that makes it. We've been so boring and banal if he'd been bad all along.
I
Mhm.
think also that Alan Rickman kind of improves on the character as he exists in the book.
To be fair, I do find the production of like that character very, very interesting in that basically all the way through the movies, Alan Rickman was the only one that knew the ultimate end for Snape, because J.K. Rowling told him it right at the beginning, and he basically like swore an oath to her never to tell anyone. So
A blood
he
oath?
played basically he played the role the entire way through, knowing exactly where the character was going and just didn't tell anyone, right? So there are probably, you know, you could probably analyze these movies to like find points of the Snape scenes and be able to go, shit, like that's why he played the character that way, you know, like he knew where it was going, he knew where we were going to end up. And I mean, when you get later in the series, when you get to like, you know, book 6 and stuff, movie 6 and stuff, and like how ambiguous, like, because as much as it may well have been boring if he was the bad guy, Valerian, like at the same time you get enough ambiguity and you're really, really not sure whether he's the good guy or not.
Oh yeah.
It does completely convince you for a while.
Oh yeah. In book 6, it's like yeah,
And
yeah, it
and
does.
because of that, like, even though it may well have been it could have been boring, I don't think it would have been as boring, because I think the way that character is written is incredibly well done, you know.
Well, it's interesting because we look, it's not boring because we don't know, but then it turns out that he's actually on the right side all along.
Yeah.
But we've been led to think, oh, he must be in the bad guy's side. He swore the oath and he killed Dumbledore. Spoiler.
What I mean is that when you're in the moment where you think he is the bad guy for a solid 2 books, right? That didn't feel like you'd been let down by the author. It felt like just viscerally shit. All this time we thought he was just the bully, and it turns out he's actually this like massive arch villain, or like the arch villain before the true arch villain, you know. And because that's done so convincingly, like that, it means that if he had just stayed that way right until the end, it wouldn't have been the worst thing.
No, it's interesting too because when you still think he's a bad guy, there are these little clues along the way in book 7 where you still think he's the bad guy. That, like, he says he makes these kids go in detention with Hagrid, like as a punishment, and like, that's not really that much of a punishment, is it? And the characters even remark on this, but you're thinking, oh, I wonder, you know.
All right, guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. I got a jet, so you guys have a nice night.
All right,
All right, take care, bud.
Have a riot.
All right. So, any other thoughts on book 3 before we move over to book 4? I think a big part of book 3 is that it's not very plot driven. There's not a central thing.
No, it's more character driven,
Like,
I would say.
It's character driven. It's about
Yeah.
backstory. It's about motivations and kind of filling in gaps. You know, it's the Harry character arc of, you know, like coming of age and learning the world's more complicated than he thought. You know, all that. All that jazz.
So, what are the major changes between the third book and the third film? Because I don't remember them very well.
Sir Duggan, if memory serves.
Sir Cadogan was relegated to deleted scenes.
Who?
Yes.
Sir Cadogan, the guy who replaces the fat lady.
Portrait lady.
Oh, that guy. Okay, that chap was kind of
the idiot guy. Yeah.
Okay, that chap who says, "Forsooth, a quest."
Or
blackguard. Give me the password, blackguard, kind of thing. Okay,
and keeps changing the password so that Neville has to write the pages down, and they actually got
that's how Sirius got into the Gryffindor Tower to get Peter Pettigrew.
Yeah, there's also one or two missing Hogmeads scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, and they
I mean, you
changed the bit with
That's just padding, really.
and well, they changed the bit with Lupin. It's a little bit less impact in the book, but then in the
Fireball
book,
scene, that's one of them as well.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
like in terms of the Hogsmeade stuff, the thing is with a lot of stuff like that, it's like if it was like more of a progressive thing, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
well, maybe we can just fit it into fewer scenes and it will like the pacing for a movie will probably work better. So it's like, you know, and I
Yeah.
think the Quidditch, this was the first one where they went, you know what, we kind of let's not do the Quidditch arc thing. So they put the firebolt stuff right at the end instead of it being part of like, oh, who sent him the firebolt? Oh god, you know, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Quidditch, honestly, book 3 it's good, but after book 3 it's like whatever. I kind of skip those bits.
I don't know. I quite enjoyed the Quidditch
Mm.
stuff later on because it plays a lot into the character stuff, you know, like especially with Ron and that. And I mean, like, you know, and it's also also Harry, because Harry like has this sort of, you know, like he's it's interesting that he's the sporty character. I mean, but also. But it's not like that much of an effect on his popularity. Like even as well as the Chosen One stuff, like you would think Harry would be the most popular kid in school, but he oddly, especially in the 5th book, obviously everyone hates him, so he kind of just like pours into his sportiness. But like I don't know, he just has like that sporty edge he has is an interesting element of his character that we get to see, you know, and it's not necessarily as very important to the plot. But then it is something he's working towards that's a little bit less serious, so it's kind of a nice like break sometimes. So
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, it works fine in book 3.
yeah. And like you know, later on when Ron's trying to become the keeper, and it's like it's all about the high school romance and stuff, which is a nice light thing that we desperately need in, you know, in these freaking dark as heck books, you know.
Especially in
Especially in Harper
6, where
like, oof.
there's a lot of... It's basically just they're surveying the paper to see who's died.
Yeah, so they kind of need to have something like going on. So, and the Quidditch is a big part of that. You know, Ron's trying to be all masculine and, you know, gets a load of fangirls and, you know, and Harry wants to go for his sporty sister. Not Harry's sister, Ron's sister.
Yeah, no.
I was like, wait.
Speaking of amusing trolling things, Space Chunk has entered the room.
Space Junk?
Because it is
Space Junk?
He doesn't like Harry Potter because it's British.
Look, I just wanted to inform you of something, Space Junk. In the watch through of the 5th movie yesterday, I created an invention. It's called the German cupboard. It's the cupboard that all of the megalomaniacal Germans get put into, so we don't have to deal with them. And if you would like to go in that cupboard, just let me know. Just keep talking.
But you know,
okay?
you're royalty.
Perpetually sometimes.
But you know,
I think Wisp
What'd you
lives
say?
there quite a few times. I think Wisp lives there quite often.
Okay.
Probably, but I was just going to say British
very
royalty.
interesting Wisp is a very interesting contradiction in terms. A red-pilled autistic tranny and woman.
I have a great fondness for Wisp. I've played a good few D&D games with her. She's
a fun person.
She's a lovely person. She is a madcap maniac.
Her or say that. Don't disagree with her when she talks about socialism or communism.
Of course, she's a madcap maniac, but she's very sweet. And talking about cooking with her is a very good idea.
Yeah. So in terms of Germans, I was going to just say something mildly trollish, which is that the royal family of Britain are kind of Germans.
Look, Look,
Only Megan and
we're not racists in Britain. If your family have lived here as long as the royal family have, we're not gonna call you a German. You know,
Nope.
Germans who live in Germany, on the other hand,
It's only been 300 years.
look, 300 years. Look, you're an American. 300 years is like 5,000 years. So to
I'm
you,
what?
So, you know,
I don't see
Like-
why I should stand here and be insulted.
So
Wow.
will you sit down and be insulted?
yeah, because if you sit down, then you know, like, then
have a
it'll be easier to stick you in the cupboard too.
Yeah.
But people told me that Harry Potter books are hell itself. You mean to say that they were lying?
What?
No, they're just misinformed evangelical Christians.
That
Oh
too.
god.
Oh, did you see
Okay.
that link that I posted?
I did, but I didn't
One-
get a chance to look at it.
The one about the it's a book a minute thing. It's a very old
Mm.
website. They've got one where they got the printed version of the Harry Potter story in 1 minute, and then that's got the real version. So it's all about how it's really, spoiler alert, but it's all about how it's really about Satanism.
So basically the idiocy of the, what is it, room something or other about The Shining, where they're making these absurd claims that just because this is included in The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, that it means X, Y, or Z.
Did you know, by the way, that the Oz books are also satanic?
So I was reading in the chat and completely zoned out, and came back, and you were talking about The Shining.
I think we should just move on to Goblet of Fire now, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Because we talked about the
Yeah.
time turner stuff already, and it doesn't really make it. It breaks a little bit.
it breaks world building. It doesn't break the plot in that moment, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't break world building. It breaks previous world building. It doesn't break future world building because she gets rid of them. So
Which doesn't?
The time
the
turner.
time turner,
Oh,
time
yeah.
turners existing, like, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, I can deal with a slightly kooky, breaky, slightly world when it's Harry Potter, because again, if you present yourself as like a straight world, you know, that is built like
You mean
by a very strict amount of logic, you know, and like things are like things add up, and one thing leads to another, and things are very coherent, you know, then I would be like, well, that's stupid, because that's in the middle of that. But things are very wonky in Harry Potter by nature, and I'm just like, you know what, with it's a cop out to say whimsy, but whimsy. So
Mm.
I'm sorry, I got distracted because I thought that was my grocery delivery, but it turned out to be a telemarketer. So what were you saying?
well, what I was actually going to say was, I agree with Trip. You do need to discipline your women better.
Yes. Trip
Oh.
also says I have 300 years to put a drop a bucket in my life, but she's like only slightly younger than I am, so maybe for her it would be 250 years would be a drop in the ocean, whereas for me it's 300 years.
So I don't. So Space Junk, who have you? I'm just a sadist, according to Wisp, because I kept telling her when we were watching Wheel of Time, since she really likes the books. She hasn't finished them, but she's read most of them. She's like, I hate you. Stop saying that, and she still holds that against me even to this day. For doing that, even though that's standard practice for me.
So who is a narcissist? I don't know. I'm left
which
center, so
I doubt that any of us would qualify as narcissists according to Wisp's definition. Most of the people that Wisp calls narcissists are SJWs.
Well,
I mean, Tarek probably is.
I'm left at center, so she might.
He's funny that way.
I mean, I'm definitely left-
she likes sarcastic Hawk. She thinks sarcastic Hawk is fine, and Tarek is about the same. Is very
Yeah,
similar
fair
in
enough.
terms of personality and delivery.
I mean, I'm left of center, so she might view that as being an SJW and therefore a narcissist.
I don't think so. I think she would just her major thing is she hates communists and socialists due to living through the tail end of the Soviet Union in Germany.
Well, my father was a Marxist, so is a Marxist, so. So she probably hates him anyway.
She has a personal vested hatred. She also holds them personally responsible for a lot of her mental health issues because they when she was transitioning, they did a lot of damage to her psyche from severe cyberbullying. So
yeah. I'm really sure my father wasn't involved in that, but hey.
Anyway,
let's talk about Goblet of Fire and how the
back to
film
Harry
doesn't
Potter.
Really it is the film really doesn't go into explanations about the actual goblet itself, really.
Actually, the entire film is about Wisp's politics. It's just an allegory for them.
Oh no! Yeah, it turns out that J.K. Rowling is in fact Wisp.
I know when we were watching Goblet of Fire, at least in the introduction of the the Beaubaton and Durmstrang, she was like, it's just a bunch of random scenes, and it's just like they're introducing the schools. Of course, it's going to be slightly montagey. What do you expect? A bunch of other movies have this same
exactly
same thing. What's your point?
I read the books.
As a like kind of related, like an adjacent point, I'm going to address the fact that there is a very strange subsection of the internet that because Harry Potter was so popular, they seem to. It's not that they're hating it for hating's sake. There are things that are flaws in Harry Potter, and I'm just like, okay, cool. You know, it's interesting for me to discuss more than anything. There is a deep, like just a deep desire to look at Harry Potter and rip it apart like it's the worst thing that's ever existed, just because like there's a load of people that they don't like politically that like it, and it genuinely bothers me because that's essentially what it is. Like, there's just like this. It's like, actually Harry Potter's not as good as you think it is. It's actually really shit, and then they sit there and like piece it apart in like the most anal way possible.
I think partially it's just Wisp style, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like I'm not saying Wisp is specifically like exactly this, but it's just a little bit of a culture I've noticed that pisses me off.
I think that partially is because she came in partway through and maybe she hasn't seen the movies. That could have been. I just remember that.
But people do have the point. The point is, I mean, I love Wisp, but the point is that people have like this like knee-jerk reaction to want to like rip it apart without having context and not give it any benefit of the doubt because they just assume it's shit because people they don't like it. And it really annoys me. It's just like nobody has any benefit of the doubt these days. They just want to rip shit apart, and it just annoys me.
Oh yeah, the whole scene is really, the whole culture war gets really irritating after a while.
Yeah, I just want to watch good shit. But Space Junk, who is my favorite character? My favorite character is of course Luna Lovegood.
Because she's Becca, just a little bit more quirky.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if Luna was a bit more Hermione-ish, that's me. Like, you know, I've said before that Hermione, I kind of hated her when I first read it because she was a little bit too much like me. I kind of hated it. I was like, oh no. A little bit like Shalon, yeah. Except Shalon's more fucked in the head, which hurt more.
Yeah, I think, but yeah, Wisp, I think that most people kind of hate half of the Wheel of Time books. They are just irritated that some of them are irritated that there's way too much filler in them. that he doesn't take the chance to just stop and actually stop world building and get to the point, which is a major problem that those books do have.
Hmm.
Fair
Still
enough.
in book one.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll get to them eventually. I'm looking forward to finding them, like, well, enjoying them, but also like I like it when you have a good series that has flaws, like Harry Potter. You know,
Yeah.
you get to piece out what happened, and while still loving it, you know, enjoying figuring that out, you know, puzzling it out and going, okay, because it's nice when a really good author fucks up, because it makes you go, shit, they're human and I can figure this out, and it teaches you something, you know.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think also like Four Wisp has certain sensory and processing disadvantages that definitely have to be taken into consideration with certain
That's fair.
things.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
I
fair.
promise I wasn't ribbing her. I just
Oh, I know.
noticed.
I will rip into her
I
for
noticed.
sometimes arguments that I
I know.
don't fully agree with, but sometimes that
It's
can
more that
be...
I noticed she was exhibiting in something that adjacently is a cultural issue in the critique of Harry Potter that pisses me off. So I thought I'd point it out just because it was related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Anyway,
If I reach book 12, No More Jordan drags a bit. Biggest understatement of this turning of the wheel. There's only one turning of the wheel. Whatever Rafe Judkins says, that piece of crap can go get raped by a cactus for all I care.
wow.
Good heavens.
Okay, that was imagery.
Not
I
bad.
wonder if that. I wonder if that's what you have to do to make a Horcrux.
No bad feelings
Well-
involved, of course, but oh dear,
Well,
dear.
yeah.
No wonder they vomited. Okay, fair enough.
Come on,
Right,
Dad,
let's
that was
get back to
funny.
the point.
I'm trying to eat too, you know.
So anyway,
Excuse
Goblet
Alright.
of Fire.
Thank you for
Uh,
finding me funny,
I
Codex.
personally enjoy this one the most. I am admittedly somewhat biased because there's a dragon fight in it, and it's a pretty decent
yeah.
dragon fight as well.
Yeah.
It's very
Can we-
different than it is in the book.
Can we take a moment to appreciate how fucking awesome those dragons look?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They still hold
They
up.
look
I got-
great. Like
I got thrown off at first because Harry was already at the burrow. I almost said at the willow. At the burrow.
I feel like
Oh.
the purple tongue shit was probably not a good idea to put at the beginning of the movie.
Probably.
Yeah.
So they're already
Visions
there, and there was a. I know there's a big bit at the beginning. Oh, there's a whole flu powder thing where they attack what's his name? Dudley eats those candies and some horrible thing happens to him.
Yeah. I think that it's fine that they start off in the burrow because they very much said this book is way too long. We need to ramp up the pace. We need to cut out anything that's extraneous.
Yep, they're very big on speeding up the pace. In fact, in book 5, of course, we're not talking about book 5, not film 5. The pace is almost too fast in the 5th film.
A little bit. I mean, like, it works well enough, but like, the big thing is, you get to book 4, and suddenly you have I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Next to book 4, next to book 3,
Yeah.
it's a lot bigger. You know, suddenly you have to change gears a little bit. You kind of have to go, right, some of this has to go, otherwise we're going to have a 4-hour movie, you know. And
We have a Snyder Cut.
I'm
Yeah.
mildly,
Oh god.
yeah, I'm mildly impressed that they even kept the World Cup in at all, because it's only very well. Okay, it's not totally tangential because there's the whole bit at the end with the whatever that curse is that brings on the Voldemort's head and all that.
The spooky skull.
Yeah. So where's that bit, which is
I w-
pertinent to Boris's point of now?
I was about to say Vala Morgulis.
More, but close. Close enough,
Fucking
I
David
guess.
Tennant. Fucking David Tennant, like, like just
Yep. J.
completely deranged.
Yep. J.K. Martin.
Love it. Anyway, that
Those
tickled.
are scientific
Anyway,
instruments, not water pistols.
Wouldn't
but
it
like,
be Wyatt if J.K. Rowling and Gurm were merged in a transporter accident?
That
Uh,
would be
interesting.
really
Anyway,
bad.
that sounds horrifying.
Citation?
But no, like, I mean, I think it makes. I don't see why you would cut out. You would at least like have some imagery or some reference to the World Cup. Maybe like it was right after and they're talking about it, or you know what I mean. You would have something big, but it makes sense just to have it there and show a bit of it. That's the Quidditch we get this, this in this movie. We just get to see a little bit of it. We get Crumb introduced because obviously it's important that Crumb is introduced there. Because the whole context is that he's a Quidditch star, and it's better to show him as a Quidditch star than it is to just say that he is one, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff that actually contextualizes, and also having like a fun game that then turns into a fucking Death Eater cult thing.
Yeah, I was gonna
right
say,
there is a little bit of foreshadowing to the end of a tournament later on in the movie, turning into a Death Eater cult incident. So,
not to spoil it on Julie, but yes.
Let's spoil the fourth Harry Potter movie, guys, because people might not have seen it.
I do think Space Junk makes the remark, why are there only 3 unforgivable curses? Things the students learn in the first year can be used as war crimes. That is true.
Here's
you
a
could
point.
easily use Petrificus Totalis to do some Bill Cosby crap.
I think it's because the unforgivable curses, right, are curses that have to be cast with malice, and they're curses that cause, like, if you think about the 3 that they are, one is to just outright kill someone. Yes, other spells can tangentially kill someone. That curse is to literally, like, kill you by getting inside you and like shutting you out like a light. Like that. It's a horrible thing. It's like the fundamental of killing someone. And then Crucio is the fundamental of torturing someone, giving someone pain, which is it's stripped of any other element. That's the only thing that it is.
It's one mind control.
And of course, then Imperius is the actual.
That was it. Yeah.
It's probably the least bad of the 3, but it's also probably the most insidious one too, because it's the act of exerting complete control over someone, which is. Yeah, like all of those, they're fundamentals, whereas other spells are multifaceted. They're more a thing that you can cause that won't necessarily be a bad thing, but could be a bad thing. That's not the same of an unforgivable curse. You might cause something that is a crime, but an unforgivable curse is always a crime.
That's why that a certain scene in book 7 is like probably the worst thing, absolute worst thing in the entire series.
Wait, what?
7.
The scene where Harry does the Crucio curse.
On which?
Oh, Imperius, you mean in the bank?
No, he does it on this scummy Death Eater that's being rude to Professor McGonagall, and it's like, and then she explicitly refers to this bit where she says you have to enjoy. From book 5, where it says you have to enjoy, where Bellatrix says you have to enjoy it and all that, but she like retcons it to mean like as if it means something else, and it's like
To be fair, part of book 7 is Harry falling down a dark path, and then he has to redeem himself. So You know, because he casts the Imperious Curse. They use the Imperious Curse. You know, like, and the Imperious Curse doesn't appear as bad as it actually is when you think about it, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
They use it fairly liberally in that book, which, when you think about it, it's like shit. They did start to go down a dark path by what they started to do, and they also used, you know, like you say, Harry used the Cruciatus Curse, which is a, you know, like he's falling, and that's what makes him triumphing over that and overcoming it and overcoming Voldemort more powerful, because he pulls himself back out of being
Space Junk actually makes an interesting point. Transfiguration can be used to kill things. McGonagall turns a bird into a cup.
That's
Well,
murder.
I mean,
Yeah.
the idea of transfiguration, as far as I can tell, is that the living soul is like kind of frozen in there if you turn it into something that's not, and then they turn back and they're fine, because they do that to their pets, and their pets get turned back into, you know, because they do it on their familiars. You know, Scabbers gets turned
Yeah.
into all sorts of shit, and he's still alive, right? And he's a human,
And
you know. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think that it's
that's true.
killing. And like I say, it's multifaceted spells. You might kill your animal by transfiguring it. Sure, maybe that happens, but because you've done that, either you've done it wrong, or you transfigure them into something that is going to they're immediately going to die as that thing, you know. But that doesn't mean that this curse is unforgivable. It means you did a bad thing by using a tool that resulted in something bad. But the 3 unforgivable curses are always bad.
They're
That's
Malum
the
in
difference.
se, evil in itself. Speaking of evil in itself, we're being attacked by.
Oh, fuck off! Yeah.
Okay. What was I going to say? Oh God, where were we?
Okay.
Unforgivable
them. No
versus
worries.
oh yeah. McGonagall. There was somebody in the Harry Potter news groups who actually, and I think seriously, tried to argue that she was evil. I thought it was just a joke, because he's like got all he's got all these quotes and stuff that he uses to prove that she's evil.
That's probably missed out. That's probably our context.
There are weird people in the internet that make terrible arguments.
Yeah, indeed.
Just Right is one
Wasn't
example, as is Patrick Williams. And
Maggie McFish.
Oh, they've been doing stupid things on the internet as long as there's been an internet.
Yeah, it's just that it seems I don't know, at least like they seem to have gotten at least semi-good video editing skills that make them sound more intelligent than they actually are.
Okay, because we didn't have that back in the day. Back in the day, people were just posting things too. People were just posting these things too.
Back in the day, your intelligence was judged on how pretty your stone circle was.
That works. Yeah.
Well, I mean, stone circles can be used to troll people with perfectly fine, you know.
Like, I love me some stone circles, but it's probably the rawest form of art. You know, you can't hide your ability to build a stone circle with editing.
No, but we did do some pretty. Did you know that Stonehenge is actually one big screaming troll?
That's so. Is that right?
That kind of being one thing.
Fun times. Care to explain?
Pretty much. Can you use a curse in self-defense, says Spacey Chap.
Well, again, the 3 curses, right? You can make an argument of using Avada Kedavra, but like you're choosing to kill someone, which again, back to the whole like the interesting thing about the way that J.K. Rowling conceives of killing is that killing is something that rips you apart because it's such a fundamentally evil thing to try to do, regardless of, and to somewhat is saying that even in self-defense. So really in self-defense, what you probably should be doing is using any other curse that might kill, possibly, maybe it might, but that you're not intending to kill them, that you're trying to throw them away from you you know, I don't know, like throw them back, knock them out. I mean, maybe when they get knocked out, they die, but you didn't intend to kill them, right? Intentionally casting a spell that will definitely kill them if it hits them is different to casting Stupefy and they hit their head on a lamp, right?
Yeah, it's so
And die.
confused. Yeah, jinxes are. There's a distinction between jinxes and curses, apparently,
Yeah.
because jinxes are fine. There was a whole argument in book 5. I don't know if I don't remember if it's in the film. Are jinxes ever okay? And
like, so, but yeah, so like, you know, like, so using Avada Kedavra, you could use it in self-defense, but you're better off not using it. You're better off using something that will throw them back, or
Stun
knock
them
them out.
disarm them,
or
basically.
use Petrificus Totalis, so they can't move, and then fuck off, right? You
Or the
know,
next
like,
spell.
you know, yeah, I guess. Anyway,
Yeah.
using Crucio as self-defense is not self-defense, so that one's not one. Using the Imperious Curse is a little bit freaking like, okay, it's I possess some. I take over someone's ability to be in control of their own mind in self-defense. I feel
You
like
take
that
away
doesn't
free
work
will.
when you work out, like, you know, I'm going to take away someone's free will in self-defense. It's not quite so. I feel like that doesn't work.
Yeah,
You know, you're not knocking them back. You're taking away their free will, even for a moment. It's not really. That's not really self-defense. That's why those 3 don't work.
Yeah, with magic,
Anyway.
there are like loads. With magic, there are loads of ways you can.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for when you
It's
you immobilize people or whatever, stop them from doing things without doing the 3 curses. There are like a whole bunch. You have like a whole bunch of tools that you wouldn't necessarily have if you aren't magic.
Yeah. It's not like a gunfight where there's 2 options, shoot and not shoot. It's like you have multiple things that you're ready. Why exactly would you use those 3? You know, like, you would use those 3 because you intended to do more harm. Whereas you have other options, you know, that can effectively render them completely harmless, you know, without intentionally killing or torturing or taking away free will.
Yeah, that's the advantage with magic.
So anyway, the Triwizard tournament.
Yeah. I have a bit of a bugbear with the Triwizard Cup. That whole situation doesn't make any sense at all.
Make your case.
Well, specifically the binding magical contract thing is really badly explained.
Yeah, it's like it's concrete enough that it should make more sense. Like, if it, like, the concept in and of itself could fit into the whimsical J.K. Rowling, binding magical contracts and things happen to stay in place, but yeah.
It's very problematic if you think of it as something that really exists.
Having said that, I will argue they have the whole argument of saying just don't let Potter compete, and Dumbledore, on the face of it, argues as binding magical contract, right? It's a binding magical contract. We can't drop out of it. But it is later revealed that the actual reason was that he what? Hang on, I'm blanking.
He wanted to see who was responsible or something.
Yeah. It was actually him trying to figure out who put his name in, and if he took him out, then he could. It's a little bit flimsy.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I wonder if it's more of a political thing or a bit of a show of, like, it's a little bit of a trick, and yeah, maybe it would, like, kind of I'm pretty sure they could reverse the magic of that, or like, that it's not really as strong as like, it's not like the unbreakable vow or anything. I feel like it's a little
think
bit of a little bit of a
It's vague.
sports oath. It's a bit of a sports oath. It's not really as serious as it kind of comes across. And I think that's partly to do with the way that they talk about it, particularly Dumbledore and that lot. But
But here's my question: why doesn't Harry just forfeit? He says, "Okay, I forfeit the thing. I don't want to do this tournament."
I don't think that would be a Harry thing to do. I don't think that ever occurred to him. I think he's terrified, but he's like, one of his, his kind of like core character trait, and also like, fatal flaw is the fact that he can't back down from a fight and has to fight. He's not. He's in Gryffindor, for God's sake. Like, the whole concept is that he's just like, everything about him is anti being cowardly in any sort of way, even if it's a really sensible thing to do. He's like boneheadedly brave, right? That
Wouldn't it be a riot? Wouldn't it be a riot if Harry Potter died, but then Dumbledore said, "Oh, Potter, thou art dead, but at least we've discovered who the person was who put thy name in."
Did you put your name in the goblet of fire, Harry?
Okay, that scene with Dumbledore was amusing. I'm not going to lie, but I think my problem with that as well, he doesn't want the glory. He doesn't want the fame.
It's not about glory and fame. It's not about glory and fame, and it never was with him. He's not brave because that's not bravery anyway. Like, that's more of a Slytherin trait, right? Like, to be ambitious for the fame and glory, right? He never wants it for that. It's just a case of backing out of a fight is not something Harry would ever do. He's not. It's for the principle of the thing, not for the reward.
Yeah,
I suppose, but still, it did bother me a little bit.
I can see the argument. I don't think it was explored enough. I don't think maybe they should have addressed it maybe a bit more. But if you assess like the character arc of Harry and what Harry, like in the fifth movie, the whole thing, with like Harry in the book, I think it is, where Hermione makes some comment about how Harry has a saving people thing, that they like, that's what they refer to it as, that he needs to like stop being so obsessed with saving people. Like, he can't help it. He doesn't want the fame, he doesn't want the glory, he doesn't want the reward for saving people, for fighting, for continuing to be the brave one. He just is. That's just how he is, and he never even thought about it, and that's why he never thinks about it in the fourth movie. He was like, well, if I'm in this contest, then I have to fight, obviously. He never thought of like the alternative.
Perhaps. It's another thing about the Goblet of Fire. What was the age requirement beforehand? Because they upped up to 17 in this film.
I don't think they had one, as far as I could tell. I'm pretty sure it was like a fairly... I mean, it's... Look, this is the world where in the fucking first year, they were like, hey, let's send a load of kids to detention. I know, let's send them to the fucking Forbidden Forest in the middle of the night.
But in the fourth book, Fred and George try to get in through an aging charm, but it doesn't work. So there's definitely an age requirement in the books too.
Oh no, there is. It's that before, the whole thing is that in this story they put it up to 17, so that, because wizards become adults at 17, right?
Yeah.
Like, they put it up to 17 in this iteration of the contest, because otherwise they would be in serious, because funnily enough, the wizarding world has come across certain heightens in health and safety, just as the Muggle world has. So once upon a time you could throw an 11-year-old into a pit with a dragon and not get into trouble, but these days, it's just a little bit too much paperwork. Yeah. So Look, yeah, bureaucracy is just the death of fun, right? So
Yeah,
anyway,
indeed it
anyway, so
I
now
feel
it's
oppressed.
17 plus, but even so, we still ended up with a 14-year-old
Yeah,
fighting a dragon. So
I feel oppressed that we can't put 2-year-olds in a lair with dragons.
I really think that's probably not a good idea, and I think you're a bit of a
Yeah, I
psychopath
don't.
for suggesting
I
it.
agree
Funnily
with
enough,
you on this
Valerian.
one. Yeah.
What? You must be. I don't know.
I just think it's a little bit fucking gross, Valerian. I think you need to reassess your
Yeah.
life if because that baby's gonna get eaten. You want to see babies get eaten?
What's so bad about that?
All right, yeah, I'm done. I think we need to put Valerian back into the German cupboard because that's where he belongs.
Well,
I'm gonna need a hand.
this might be more difficult than you
Several.
think.
All right. I'm glad you think so, Dan. I'm glad you're supporting this.
I agree that babies dying is bad, but I also know that Valerian is the epitome of anti-seriousness.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you're really fucking boring today, Dan.
When's
My
he never?
apologies.
Come on! Jesus Christ!
My
Try to have some
apologies,
fun.
Fun is,
Yeah, done. You know what fun
I am
is?
having fun. I'm having fun, and that you're at your exasperation and at your expense.
Jesus Christ!
Or
I
he's
need another
even-
drink.
he's
I'll be
even-
back.
He's even more laid back than usual. He's like, he's always laid back, but today he's like, we just kill each other. He'd be like,
Not necessarily.
not necessarily. Not necessarily, he says. So, is free will even real? Yes.
To be fair, I do enjoy the trials. Like each one is, the dragon. Obviously, we talked about that. They still hold up. It's a pretty, very exhilarating chase. I do question the mermaid one just a tad, but the drowning people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're
It's-
fine. They're fine in the end, though.
Well, because okay, I get so each one of the drowning people is one of the friends of the particular enchantment. Okay, that makes sense. What happens if they can't reach them? Because it's never explained in the films.
I think it's understood that they'll get rescued anyway by they'll be
You
let
think
out anyway
killed?
or something. But I think it is because Harry rescues the other people and people tell him, "Did you really think they were just going to leave them down there to drown? Did you really think that?"
Well, it's
And
never
Harry's like,
explained.
"Oh, yeah, I was kind of, I guess I was kind of stupid," says Harry. So I think it is in the books. I think that is mentioned, at least. It's in the books. I don't remember the film.
That's my point, really.
Is it mentioned in the film? I don't even remember.
No, it's never mentioned.
Have you ever mentioned watch Star Trek Next Generation? I'm like reading the most. Yes, I do, but that's kind of a rabbit hole.
I haven't seen Star Trek, and I don't.
What, you've never watched any Star
It's
Trek
hit
at
or
all?
miss, I would say so.
I've watched 4 episodes, and that is the extent of my Star Trek knowledge and the 3 J.J. Abrams movies.
Yeah, that's probably those are pretty shit. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, we're talking about this is before J.J. Abrams existed.
That's true.
I am aware. I know. I'm aware. I'm just saying that I've seen 4 episodes. I think 3 episodes of original Trek, and the 3 movies. That's the extent of my Star Trek info.
I have seen, I think, 3.5 episodes of Deep Space Nine, which Tarek was watching because it turns out it's on British Netflix. So I never had any interest in Star Trek.
That's fair.
Particularly, I just never had any connection to it, so just didn't consider it as a thing. But it was kind of cool. But now my Netflix keeps going, "Hey, continue where you left off, Deep Space Nine." I'm like, we started like in the middle of the series because you've been watching it for ages before I even started watching it, so I have no idea what was happening.
Shit happens. Things blow up.
It was cool though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the second trial with the Triwizard tournament
Yes.
with the drowning people.
Oh, just as a side note, I was a fairy kid, but I loved mermaids a
To be
lot.
fair, I do like the design of these ones. They're very different enough that they're not
Mm.
they're
Like,
different enough. Sorry, go on. Becca?
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're
Hello?
audible now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, nobody was responding.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
confused.
you're audible.
Anyway, okay. Anyway, yeah. So I love how fucking creepy they are. They're so
Yeah.
cool. Like, and I love having mermaids in a fairly prominent fantasy series that aren't shit. You know, oh my god. That's an actual achievement because very rarely are they really a prominent thing, and when they are, you get Pirates of the Caribbean 4.
That is
So,
true. Yeah.
And I mean, my sweet spot for mermaids is like that weird little midpoint between ghostly beautiful and absolutely terrifying. Like, and these guys are way more on the absolutely terrifying side of everything. But I'll take that. I love mermaids. They're so cool.
Yeah.
Mermaids are hot.
Not these ones.
These
I would
ones with
question your
drowning.
taste quite a bit.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, these ones are a little bit weird, Valerian. I know you are an ancient being that built Stonehenge, but I just think that's a little bit dodge.
Don't knock it till you've tried it.
I'll pass, thanks.
I am very worried. I'm very fucking worried. Oh no!
Yeah, what was I
Oh
gonna say?
dear.
I think we
it's just-
should be.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's also the design of them as well. Like, usually the mermaids have like a vertical tail. This is like a horizontal tail, so it's a little different, but it really gives more mystique to them, I suppose. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I missed when you guys watched this one, so it is a while since
That's
I
fair.
watched this movie. I've seen it a million times, but it's been a while because I think I watched 3 with you guys and then dipped out of onlineness for a bit.
To be with your bard.
I know, we had a good time. Anyway,
Well, to be fair, you missed the dress scene, so.
So if
Hey,
there are such high stakes for the contestants, why would there be any guarantee their friends would survive the mermaids? Well, we get into the whole problem of they're all underage.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, although it is a little bit ambiguous in the movie, like, and as much as it is the wizarding world, they're a little bit lax on the health and safety side of things. These are, this is a contest, right? And as much as it might be a dangerous contest, I think they probably have a little bit of liability to not kill off the people who aren't in the contest. Harry, fair enough. Harry might die. Whatever. Although they do seem a bit shocked that someone did die in the contest at the end.
That is true. Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
Well, to be fair, that was with Voldemort. So, but yeah,
having said that, the fact that they are so shocked that Cedric is dead, they clearly weren't expecting someone to die in the tournament. So that means they're definitely not expecting someone to die in the second task, especially someone who isn't a contestant. So probably, I mean, yeah, they don't explain how they're going to save them and stop them from dying, but I think you can probably... The fact that they're breathing underwater, the fact that they had this whole thing where they, captured the mermaid song, and they, clearly the mermaid sang them a song to put in that little egg.
Yeah, I mean, these are even the ones who are 17, they're still basically kids. They're supposed to be like in school. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. They're not supposed to be like having a fight to the death thing going on here.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's the wizarding world, I think that would be carrying it too far. I think even Dumbledore is more responsible than that. I would hope so, at least. I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, you say that, yeah.
The secret anti-curses, which had the reverse effect. So if you die, the Wizard of Men in Black cast Arbadik Adava on you and bring you back to life. I don't get the joke, but hey.
I don't know. I think it's
Well, here's because I was jumping ahead a bit, but the Resurrection Stone is like you're not supposed to mess with the dead, so
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to do that. It's not a good idea.
yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah,
Again, J.K. Rowling, I don't know what it is with her. I mean, I guess, you know, like everyone, she has lost loved ones, right? Yeah, I know there was a whole story. I think she lost her mum just before.
yeah,
She published the first book.
yeah, she did. Yeah,
But you know, which people lose their parents. It's a thing.
and then the third task in a maze.
Yeah, the third maze is kind of where they cut out a lot. They decided, you know what? Let's not do kind of the weird
But she does have a
creatures.
fascination.
Well,
Sorry, you're cutting out, Becca. We can't hear you very well.
It's the killing curse backwards. It's the result of why. It's the reason why everything is dangerous around the children. Pardon me. I had a bit of an annoying episode where something wanted to go down the wrong way.
Oh, that's understandable.
yeah,
That's sort of irritating. Either that or I was just cursed by a carrot curse. And I thought that was just for aspiring.
So the maze part done? You were saying?
I was saying that the movie decided to cut a lot of the magic creatures out of that.
Yeah.
And just decided, you know what? Let's
Hedges. We'll go with hedges. They're better.
Yeah, let's just do something that's a little bit cheaper. Since I imagine. Sorry,
go on.
I was just going to say that being that many, they probably only had limited amounts of CGI to use.
And
And
to be fair,
using
getting
it
crushed by...
on. No, go for it. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, but being crushed by branches and leaves exactly, and being suffocated by nature exactly, is pretty terrifying in some cases. So maybe that's true, but it would be interesting to see more magical creatures like spiders.
Yeah, since the spider in there is actually pretty scary.
I think killer plants are cute.
You think
I'll disagree with you.
there's essentially the theory that Valerian is a botanicosexual is still ongoing. Good.
Possibly.
I didn't say I wanted to jump in a lake with them. I said they were cute. I jump in a sack with them. I said they were cute.
Don't lie to us, Valerian. Don't lie to us.
Not everything in the universe is about sex, contrary to common belief.
So that's a no.
Oh, I never said it was, but as soon as you say something's cute, then you immediately invite.
What? I think she got attacked by the internet.
Yeah, I think that Becca is suffering from internetisms.
Hello, I returned. I actually left like a while ago, and for whatever reason, I didn't disappear until I came back, which is a bit weird.
Huh. That is
So
odd.
A little odd.
anyway, well, I can hear you guys better now, which is good.
This is indeed great.
Yay. Good times. If you don't have the soul, would the killing curse work on you? Well, let's try it on Space Junk and find out.
in the interest of science, I assume.
Indeed.
Let's see. Oh yes, we were on the third task.
Yeah. And they cut out the Sphinx, which I imagine that would kind of come off as a little bit gimmicky.
Yeah, I think if we're going to cut something, the Sphinx is a good thing to cut.
I feel like the foreshadowing that happens because of the Sphinx, she actually, because of the answer to the riddle, she actually allows foreshadows the fact that a giant spider is the last obstacle that you have to face before getting to the Triwizard Cup, and Harry and Cedric have to fight through it. But there is something a little bit more frightening about your own surroundings being too much for you to overcome.
Hmm.
That is definitely something to consider.
Maybe.
And then we get the what is it? The
Return of the Dark Lord.
The
Oh.
Return of the
Oh no, I'm the only
Dark
British
Lord.
person here. Oh no, I'm the only British person here. What am I going to do?
Valerian's
Something
honorary
totally just
British.
Not so fucking fast, you piece of shit, Codex.
I was worried.
It's
That's all it was.
Valerian. I think that it's actually more accurate to say that Valerian is an honorary Britishman.
He's Irish, doesn't count.
No, yeah, he's definitely.
Well, the school is kind of West Brit. The school I went to in Ireland was kind of a West Brit school.
Yeah, fair enough, but still. So anyway, yeah, the Dark Lord.
Yeah, I do like the how Ray Fiennes is they revive Voldemort. Like, he looks, when he comes out of the cauldron, he's just looks like this eldritch thing that slowly coalesces into the form of a man, and it's really, really creepy.
Yeah, especially when he's like feeling his face for the first time, like in what, decades, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it has gone on like a normal nose, it's like a snake nose exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been like 14 years.
Yeah.
It's just the creepiest shit, and it's amazing. Like,
And
I
Ray
mean, you know.
Yeah, just perfect choice. Like,
He is.
like, he's flamboyant enough, but he's very menacing when he wants to be, exactly. Especially when he's introducing the metric system.
Horror, shriek, scream.
Indeed.
I think one other thing about Ray Fiennes' Voldemort that they kind of removed from the movie that was in the book. They didn't. They cut out some of the Death Eater stuff. And so that they could, as well as Harry running from the Death Eaters in, because he's going over the hedges.
When did Voldemort get destroyed the last time? When Harry was an infant.
So it's been about a decade and a half at this point.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah. How old is Harry though at the time? Was Harry like 1 year old already, or was just a newborn infant?
He's 1 year old.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes it 13 years ago. 13 years ago and almost 14 years ago.
So it's like a decade and some change.
Yeah, let's say that, yeah.
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 I don't know if that was heard because I do keep cutting out, but yes. Haha. Fun times.
Indeed.
Anyway, yes, Harry born in 1980. His parents died in 1981. That's the timeline. So.
Yeah.
Then we get. I do think that the fight is very accurately portrayed with Voldemort. They do cut out some of Voldemort humiliating Harry because he's extremely petty and insecure.
Well, it's the boy that got away from him, essentially. If he is the quote-unquote Dark Lord of magic, essentially, and a literal 1-year-old managed to best him exactly, I think that's gonna feed into the little pride of his, isn't it?
I agree. And it just hurts him personally that this kid, now he's going to try and get back at him, but he ends up being humiliated again.
And again, and again, and again, and he dies.
I hate it when that happens.
Indeed.
Well, don't worry, Balerion. You have not. I don't know of any time where you've done that here.
Not yet, anyway.
Done what? I
got killed and humiliated. Got killed and then humiliated, then killed and then humiliated, and then killed and then killed and then killed.
I feel like we've done that to you. That might have been like
he's managed to keep his dignity. I've annoyed him frequently, but I have never humiliated the man.
That's unsurprising.
Fair enough. No, yeah, to be fair, it's, you know. Okay. Okay. Alright.
I mean, people may have tried to, but they didn't.
Yes, you're too strong for that, aren't you, Balerion?
Yes, I will overcome.
You're such a trooper.
The obnoxious comments.
Mm-hmm.
I'll overcome the age jokes. I'll triumph over the age jokes. I triumphed over them 100,000 years ago, and I'll triumph over them now.
You really are Irish, Jesus.
Did that sound like an actual? Did that sound Irish?
I wasn't commenting on the accent. I was commenting on the eternal fight. You know, look, the Irish just have an eternal vendetta against the English, and you have an eternal vendetta against us. So you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so Space One got a question. What is Voldy's motivation? I think he wants an apotheosis of some kind, or at least to not die. That's the main thing.
He is deeply scared of dying and or being human. You know, he wants to escape his own humanity, essentially, and he's on a quest to basically live forever and be in control of everything because he's a narcissistic control freak, basically.
So,
Yeah.
You
who
know,
will be the next Voldemort? The next Voldemort will be Harry Potter.
Dun dun
plot
dun.
twist.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I mentioned it when we were watching through the 5th movie yesterday, but I have a genuine fascination with Voldemort as a character, particularly because he's often dismissed as just a pure evil, you know, supervillain. And I think he is definitely J.K. Rowling she has this fascination with death, as we've said, and, you know, and this part, Voldemort is her exploring what it is to be scared of death, what it is to run away from it, what it is to remove that from yourself, and because in removing death from yourself, you remove your own humanity, basically. And that it's just a really interesting, like study of humanity. Not to be so bold, but I just find him a fascinating character, and I think he doesn't get enough credit for that. He's more of a concept in a lot of ways than a character, which is why I think people have the whole like Umbridge is the more evil character, you know. But it's because she is, but in some ways, but it's because it's familiar. Whereas Voldemort is like this deep dark part of your soul that could be corrupted, you know, like, whereas, you know, Umbridge is like a person we knew one time, whereas Voldemort's like a embodiment of a corruption, you know.
There's a reason why they're called Death Eaters.
Yeah, like there's a wonderful creepiness to it, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, this entire scene, this graveyard scene, all of this, the big fight, it's just nail-bitingly fucking tense. And 11-year-old Becca was very stressed. Very, very, very stressed. I finished watching that movie and did not want to watch another one because I was very horrified by what Harry Potter just turned into and how intense it became.
Plus, it's also very emotional because that's the only time as an adult he actually seen his parents.
I know, and obviously he's just like, you know, a boy that he went to school with just died in front of him, you know, a manlet that will become the greatest vampire of all time.
Yeah. And after that, we have the whole we've neglected to mention Mad Eye Moody. Shame on us. I can't think of anybody better than Brendan Gleeson to play Mad Eye Moody.
Yes, he's crazy, but
well, he was so wonderful. But also, you obviously have David Tennant right there next to him, and like Brendan Gleeson and David Tennant working together to play that character, you know, it's so seamless, it's so good. Oh my god, right? Oh, down to the little like weird like tongue flick thing. Ugh, it's great. It's so great.
Yeah, I also think that the Moody teaching the unforgivable curses scene is
incredible. Yeah.
Oh, we haven't even mentioned Moody yet.
Well, of course not. No.
Is a really good moment because it initially on your first viewing, if you didn't if you weren't aware of the what happens, that he is actually a Death Eater in disguise. He comes off as a pretty good teacher. He's teaching them about the dark arts, but in reality, he's trying to freak the crap out of these kids because Barty Crouch
it's also an element. it's partly that he's trying to freak them out. It's also that he's just an unhinged man that doesn't quite understand that, because he's trying to pretend to be Mad Eye Moody, right? Who is a madman. But it's interesting that it's a
different kind. It's a very different kind of insanity.
Yeah, but it's interesting that it kind of passes. People just sort of go, okay, that's Mad Eye Moody. But it very easily could have not passed by people. And the reason is because Barty Crouch Jr. is a mental nutcase, right? And he cannot quite distinguish exactly the difference between Mad Eye's level of mad and cruelty and and like going over the edge. He cannot see that edge. So, and it's like in retrospect you're realizing how unhinged he is, but when you're first watching it you're just thinking, well, this is a little bit this is a little bit edgy, it's a little bit far, but it's just like a teacher teaching them real magic, and it's like, wow, okay, like it's the wonderful thing about being borderline but making you feel a bit uncomfortable is really, really showing that the man underneath this is a nutter. Fucking nutter.
It's very interesting because the thing that's interesting is that we're actually we're cheering for him when he turns Draco Malfoy into a ferret and bounces him back.
Oh,
it is kind of excessive thing to do to a kid, isn't it? Even
a little bit excessive, but a little humorous.
It's unlike the riot. It's
to get Malfoy, so he kind of deserves it, really.
I mean, yeah, it's a riot, but
when McGonagall turns up, she's like, Professor Moody, what are you doing? And he's like, teaching. And she's like, is this a student? And he's like, technically it's a ferret. It's just I could rewatch that scene. I could rewatch that scene a million times. It's so good.
Yeah, I could tell you stories about your father that would make even your greasy hair curl. It's not that I'm here.
And the ferret is cute. And the ferret is cute. No, great lord.
Oh, I love that scene so much. But yeah, it's great how it's this wonderful thing. You really grow to love the Barty Crouch Jr. version of Mad Eye, which makes the betrayal all the more like, oh my god, all this time it was a fucking Death Eater trying to like prime Harry to be killed by Voldemort. That's horrifying because you loved him, you thought he was great, and it's like it's so masterfully done because you're just sat there going, oh no, I don't want him to. No, I like this character.
Yeah, because at first you're like, what the? When you're first reading it, you're like, what the? But then you're like, but then there are these various clues that are scattered around the place, but you don't notice them at first.
Here's an interesting analysis point, maybe. Mad Eye is the reverse Snape.
Yeah, it's true, actually.
Mad Eye is the teacher that you love, that is, borderline is a grey character, but that you're really on side because he's on Harry's side. And so when it turns out he's a Death Eater, you're like, fucking wuss, no. Whereas like Snape is obviously the opposite. Snape is the bully, the asshole, the one that you want to hate, and then you get justified in hating, and now you're just like, he's a nasty arch villain and I hate him, and then it turns out actually he was a good guy. You get the opposite experience basically.
Yeah, my main issue with Barty Crouch's plan is that how much Polyjuice potions does he have to make before storming into Hogwarts exactly?
I mean, I guess he made a big stash and then started stealing shit from Snape, which is,
Maybe he fell into the cauldron of Polyjuice when he was a baby.
I don't think so, because otherwise he would have been looking like he would look like Mad Eye from the day he was born, which would mean he wouldn't,
Yeah, that's kind of
Bother.
that plan also, really.
Because everyone got the reference. Well, I don't know if Don got the reference. If others got the reference.
Anyway,
I can't remember. I think it was that's the Joker has that.
That's not what the reference was, though. It's to Obelix and Asterix comics.
Yeah, I've read a few of those comics, but that one is not one that I have read.
Well, he's in most of them.
Well, I mean that specific cauldron thing. I know that there's
It's just
this.
referred to. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It's just referred to. It doesn't happen on screen or on what's the word I'm looking for?
On the page.
Yes, page.
Yeah.
Yes, pages.
Oh.
Those things that books have.
Yeah, yeah. Books. Yes, I remember books.
Of course
Yeah,
you do.
I don't. Yeah, I've read a few of the Asterix and Obelix comics, but I can't remember if that was ever referenced. It's admittedly been a while.
Yeah, it may have. Yeah. Yep. That's. Yep. We didn't have that in the U.S. and then we read them in Ireland.
Teaching that. I was gonna say anti-Brit hate, and then I was like, wait, no, it's like anti-Roman, isn't it? Shit.
Yeah. Asterix in Britain is the only book where they actually apologize to the people that they're stereotyping, and they said, "Oh, we're not making fun of you. We're just making fun of the cliches." And they didn't bother to do this any of the other people that they lampoon. They're like, it's because it's very politically incorrect. It's to the point of being cringe in some places, to be honest.
Wonderful.
But the books,
Yeah.
I mean, not that book, but the books in general. But
I've never read them, but I used to watch them in French class, in French. So.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So I don't actually know what their voices sound like in English because I've only ever watched them in French.
Well, I've only watched them once in English, but I've read a number of the books.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the books are better, and the films are all like blasphemy against the sacred text.
Interesting take, Valerian. I've never heard you say that one.
Yeah.
Right, Codex? Did the Grim jump out at you?
No, I was just reacting to Valerian's comment, really. But still.
Hey, it just sounded like the Grim jumped out at you is all. I wanted to make sure you were okay.
I'm fine, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he's just chilling.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just chilling, reading
Good,
my-
good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just chilling and listening to us say bizarre things. That's all.
Yeah, we are bizarre people.
Any
That's
other
true.
Any other thoughts on Goblet of Fire before we close out? I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Cedric's
I
father?
do think that. Oh yes, I think that Cedric's father in the movie is done better than he is in the book.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, like that fucking you're already traumatized from that entire scene, right? In the graveyard, and you come back, and the way the music falters, and fucking Cedric's dad just breaks down, and oh my god,
Yeah, that is.
there are not many movies that I
genuinely-
cry at every single time, but I fucking bawl my eyes out when I watch Amos Diggory fucking fall to pieces, because Jesus Christ, a man seeing his son dead in front of him. Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
that
God.
is genuine.
It's
That is
And
genuine.
he's-
That is genuine loss.
Did he have a nice
And-
hat?
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
I think another thing that I want to add is talking about he's kind of done a little bit as just a kind of boorish braggart type that's always obsessed with the fact that Diggory beat Cedric at
Harry?
Diggory beat Harry at
Quidditch.
Quidditch.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think in the book what she was going for, I'm not necessarily saying it's particularly effective, but what she was going for, that he was like one of those parents that his whole thing is like how successful his kid is, and how he, you know, what he's achieved, you know, as opposed to like just being, you know, to the point that it's just like, look at my kid, it's better than my kid's better than all of your kids, you know, like that culture of
Yeah.
being a competitive parent through your child, and by doing so you have a parent that's completely that like is really over invested in their child. So when that parent loses that child, that's like ripping everything from them, not just
Yeah,
like their
like the-
child, but also all of their hopes and dreams that they put into their child.
Yeah, the sort of parent who like makes their kid go to this incredibly exclusive private school, or when they're in the womb, they have them listen to Mozart to boost their intelligence. And God knows what.
When it's like, oh, you know, like because they never achieved XYZ, it's like, right, my kid has to be a doctor and it has to get this grades and do this in life and doing everything exactly as I want them to because I don't have any ambitions for myself. It's all for the child, right? Which is a lot to put on a kid. But having, I see why she decided to do that. I actually think it's more effective if it's just a guy who loves his son. You know, it's a lot simpler, and I think that's what they kind of went with in the movie.
Honestly,
And
it's probably better for the film, really.
yeah,
think in the-
and it's good.
In the films, he's just a dad, which I think is a good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
'Cause, like,
probably
you know-
also they had to. Sorry.
No, yeah, you go.
Probably they also, it's a matter of cutting things too. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't really need that's not like a major thing even in the book. It's like something that covers like a couple of sentences in the book. Do we really need that? You know?
Yeah,
But
and
then-
considering it's just like it's just a character perspective, and I think it's just easier to portray a guy who loves his son rather than like a guy who's invested in his son. You know, it's like a little bit more of a complicated concept.
Mhm.
Yeah, for a relatively minor character like that, we don't need anything more than that. The other thing I was going to mention is the French characters from Beaubaton actually speak French in the film as opposed to broken English.
Hey, well, look, I mean, it's great that they speak French. Having said that, like, you know, when French people come to England, I mean, yes, some of them
Bloody
are
hell, they
rude and
could've
just speak French, but look, they also speak broken English.
Well, I'm talking about to each other, not.
I know that's fair.
Not-
That's fair. I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about what they speak to the British. I'm talking about to each other. It's kind of weird for the sister. She's speaking like broken English to her sister. Why?
Well, you know. I mean, maybe they're trying to practice, but at the same time, it's very, very, very unrealistic, very, very inaccurate for French people to speak English when they're in England.
Oh, you've been saved! Oh, you weren't dead after all. You've been saved. Let's practice our English.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, French people would definitely not do that.
Hagrid's subplot in the film?
Sorry?
Hagrid's subplot in the film? It's a girlfriend.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yes.
I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very romantic.
It's adorable. You know what?
Yeah.
Hagrid deserves love.
Yeah, I
He
didn't
does,
realize that immediately that lady is was in Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton version until
she's a fairly like she's a mid-level fame actress, and she's very good. Like,
yeah, she's good. Yeah,
she's pretty decent. She's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know,
yeah,
good old Frenchies. Good old.
Weird about it's sort of weird in the books too about the other school because it's called Durmstrang, which sounds German, but it's supposedly in Bulgaria. But then it's cold, which makes you think of Russia more than Bulgaria.
So the thing about Durmstrang is nobody actually knows where it is. Oh. The implication is that it's probably in that it's considering all of the sea like kind of affects that they have. They come out of the water in a massive ship. The theory is that it's in that what's that sea called? Like north of Germany, like in the Baltic. Is that Baltic Sea?
The
think so,
Baltic.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's, as far as I can tell, that's roughly probably where it is, like on an island in the Baltic Sea, and it's basically takes like students from Germany, Eastern Europe, that area, pretty much, like Sweden, Norway, Russia, like all of that area of countries go to Durmstrang pretty much. Whereas like all of like the like French, Spanish, Italian,
American.
no,
American
French, Spanish.
story.
What? No, the Americans go to Ilvermorny, you dunce.
Americans
God's
don't.
sake.
Americans don't.
What are you-
Don't rate.
Codex, since when was fucking America in Europe? I'm listing European countries. For fuck's sake! What are you talking?
Well,
We got
I mean,
emancipated from you people a
Fucking-
long time ago.
Oh,
yeah.
God's
America is
sake!
the entire
Right.
world. So it has
French,
to, it has
Spain-
to Europe. Europe isn't Europe part of America?
Oh God.
I
Anyway,
thought
anyway.
Europe was like, isn't that the
Yeah.
48th or 49th state or something?
Oh, Valerian, I need to kick you into the ocean. Anyway, right. Drop kick you off a fucking cliff. Anyway, anyway, France, Spain, not America, Italy, like that, like the south of Europe and like that sort of area goes generally goes to Beaubaton. But like, yeah, it's not specific, but it's I always understood it in my head as like the Romance language countries will go to one, and all of like the like the Germanic and Eastern European Slavic stuff like countries go to the other.
Yeah, I don't think we actually see anyone in Beaubaton who isn't French, who isn't French, who isn't a French name.
I mean, maybe we don't, but having said that, maybe it's more of a case of that. Like, I mean, as far as I understand, maybe it is just France, but considering there's nowhere for like the rest of Southern Europe, I would assume that they go to Beaubaton. But I wonder if French is the official language of the school, and like all of the other students from the other countries have to learn French. In the same way that Durmstrang probably has one language, even though it's like Germany and Russia and Norway.
I mean, that's the kind of thing the French would do anyway. They would force everyone who goes to school to speak French.
Yep, and the Germans would force everyone to speak German, I'm sure. Oh look, we've circled back around to the beginning of the stream. Look at that. Yay! It's all circular, it all makes sense. It was all set up from the beginning.
Oh yeah, we planned this all along. Yeah, we planned the whole thing all along. This looks like we're just babbling and going on tangents, but in reality everything has been meticulously
Perfectly
planned. We rehearsed this thing like 100,000 times over the last night.
It was very, very meticulously scripted, and everyone that didn't say their lines properly got very severely beaten.
Oh yeah, it got ugly. But what was I gonna say? The other weird thing being that Fleur is part Vila, and the Vilas are originally introduced to something from Bulgaria, but then it turns out that she's part Vila.
Well, I would assume that they might be from Bulgaria, but they can in fact leave Bulgaria, and Europe is one landmass, which is why Britain isn't a part of it, which is why we got our own fucking school. And you know, I feel like it's just
breed. Then she's not. She's a half breed. Then
she's not fully French. I know, right? Like, you know, she's a big shock.
She's a half breed.
She's fake French.
She's polluting the gene pool.
Ugh.
Indeed. And then she comes over to Europe and mixes weasel blood with frog blood.
Which is revolting.
There's that's the reason she doesn't mind diluting her blood with English mud, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
we have like a
Yeah.
Chad Weasley over there.
look
Yeah,
at that. You know,
Yeah.
just, you know,
I'm just disgusted.
what the heck is Tarek sending me? What is this shit?
Oh god, kill it.
He's
more
found
food
some.
over there.
He's hanging out with his mate in a supermarket, and they found some interesting things in the toys aisle.
Huh.
All right. Anyway,
That sounds like Peric.
yep. He found a deformed Harry Potter the other day.
Oh.
He was like, "Look at this monstrosity," and I was like, "Why does it look like Dudley had a baby with Mrs. Fig?"
No comment.
Oh.
Ew.
How very romantic.
Anyway,
Anything else?
on that note, yeah.
I think we will probably have to conclude things there, everybody. Thank you so much
On that
for
note.
coming. We'll call it good for today. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Enough! Kill me! Just end it.